Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 20. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Monday, Steelers Nation. This victory Monday on the heels of just an absurdly crazy and wild and heart-stopping and just bonkers Week 1 victory, 23-20 overtime against the Cincinnati Bengals to push Pittsburgh to 1-0 on the year. Dave, I'm not really sure where to begin with this one. I mean, my calendar says 2022. It feels like 2019 all over again with the way that one went yesterday.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to do this podcast today with our feet in our mouth.
We're going to try.
How do you like your crow? You like it medium rare? I don't know. I suppose I could smoke it, but man, what a crazy game. You know, it was a game that wouldn't end either. So many things. I mean, just in that, about the midway point of the fourth quarter and on was crazy. And yeah, you're right. It was a win, a gutsy win, probably an unlikely win, but it came at a looks like a pretty decent cost, and we don't know exactly what that cost is at the time of this recording. At the very least, it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks probably, and obviously it has the potential to be a lot longer than that. And of course, talking about TJ Watt and the pectoral injury that he suffered with, just a little time left in regulation time on Sunday.
Yeah, part of me instinctivly wants to go a little cynical and immediately jump to how does this team move forward without TJ Watt, given how critical this defense is and how important they were just to squeak out yesterday's game. They forced 5 turnovers and barely and fortunately in a lot of ways win that game. But another part of me late last night thought, man, just enjoy the win, because you're going to lose TJ Watt regardless of what happened. The outcome, you might as well win that one and start 1-0. It's an easier pill to swallow, a TJ Watt injury of some currently unknown extent, when you're 1-0 beating the Bengals on the road as opposed to losing to them in what looked like it was going to be a heartbreaking, fashion on the final offensive play of the game. So don't know the exact word on TJ Watt. We should know later today. The MRI is scheduled. That's obviously the most pressing injury, not the only one, but right now considered to be the most serious.
When something like that happens, your hypothetical and your what ifs kick in. And wasn't it like the play or two earlier than that it was the pass to Jamar Chase over in the right corner of the end zone, and if it's ruled out of bounds, if he catches it and it's a touchdown, and let's say they win the game or don't win, whatever, then that next play doesn't happen, and then TJ Watt doesn't hurt his pec and all like that. But I mean, you'll drive yourself crazy trying to go through scenarios like that. And the worst part of kind of what we do, I think, in what we do is having to talk about injuries and teams losing players and, that portion of the business and sport that happens around the league, weekly. And it's just the unfortunate thing that they'll now have to face and try to get over and get past. And yeah, you're right. It goes without saying. You lose the defensive player of the year on defensive side of football. It's a huge, huge blow. But look, odds were against this team even before they lost TJ Watt, right? I know I already predicted them to go 8-9, and that was with TJ Watt. So, look, they'll try to adapt and overcome. And man, that defense was good for most of the game on Sunday against the Bengals. And we'll just see what the scans say and see how long he's sidelined, and hopefully they can tread water until he gets back, if he can get back.
This commentary may very well be outdated by the time people listen to it, but according to PFT's Mike Florio, the Steelers are, quote, holding out hope it's only a partial tear, not a full tear of the pec, which would allow Watt to return and return sooner. Even if it is a full tear, there does seem to be at least a chance that Watt could return later this year. Dr. Melanie Friedlander wrote an excellent article. Can't thank her enough for how quickly she wrote that article on Steelers Depot called "Can TJ Watt's Season Be Salvaged?" and compares the injury to what JJ Watt suffered several years ago. And he returned after, I forget, several weeks, but still returned later in the year. So we'll wait and see. Again, we probably know our answer by sometime Monday afternoon, and you just hope if he can come back at any point this season, I will count that as a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And just keep your fingers crossed, and we'll see. I mean, it sounds like I don't know if anybody's got any inside information on this. I don't know if Florio's just trying to keep an optimistic view because it generates traffic. I don't know. So
I think they're just waiting for the MRI. I think the MRI is going to be what's telling everybody everything.
I mean, here's what we know. He's going to miss at least 4 weeks. So that you would think he's going to go on IR at a minimum, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Right, and then Malik Reed will step into the lineup as he did yesterday. Let's briefly talk about the other injuries because there was certainly a cost to yesterday's victory. That was Watt with the pec, Najee Harris with a foot, Robert Spillane with an eye, Levi Wallace an ankle, Mason Cole, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, DeMarvin Leal also went down briefly in that game, but all those guys seem to be okay. I know for a fact that Cole and Highsmith returned, and Hayward spoke to the media after the game, so he should be good as well. We'll see on Harris, the report on Harris and Wallace, that it's not considered to be a serious injury, and those guys may be able to come back for week 2. Spillane, no update there. Don't even know what happened on Spillane. The play that he went down, he was not even touched. I assume it to be a poke in the eye, like the play before or something.
Right, and you even look at the play before. There was a kind of a collision there. Maybe does he wear contacts? I don't know.
Well, that was my thought. But then why would he have an eye injury? If it was a contact, it wouldn't be even on the report. I wouldn't think.
Right. So, and Levi Wallace collided with Devin Bush, I think, on that 2-point play, but he was standing on the sideline, I think, later in the game. And if you got a bad ankle or, something like that, I'm not, we'll see on all of it. Mike Tomlin will obviously meet the players. Some players obviously are meeting the media on Monday, and Mike Tomlin will, of course, meet the media on Tuesday, and we'll see where things progress from there. But the biggest names, goes without saying, are Najee Harris and of course TJ Watt.
Absolutely. Dave, before we get to the game itself, let's talk about quickly the inactive players of this one for Pittsburgh, and there were 5 of them, and quarterback Mason Rudolph, offensive lineman Kendrick Green, defensive lineman Isaiah Loudermilk, inside linebacker Mark Robinson, and wide receiver Steven Sims. The only surprise to me, very mildly, was Sims being down. That was DeMarvin Leal getting the hat over him, and Leal actually played a fair amount of snaps in this game.
I wasn't shocked that Sims was down. The question to me came to whether or not they were going to dress 6 defensive linemen versus 5 and try to get maybe Mark Robinson dressed for maybe some special team stuff or something like that. So I know some people said, "Oh, what a shock! Kendrick Green is inactive." I'd been more shocked if Kendrick Green was active for that game there. So once again, my surprise wasn't Sims. It was more what's going to happen with that last defensive line spot.
Yeah, fair enough. And I thought Leal, like I said, played a fair amount of snaps and played reasonably well. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. All right, Dave, let's start recapping this game. And I'm not even sure where to begin, properly in this one. I guess it's easier to parse things kind of maybe position group by position group or offense, defense. I don't know exactly if you have a preference of how you want to start recapping this game. But again, just to set the overall scene, Jamar Chase scores the game-tying touchdown with 2 seconds left. They're going for the game-winning extra point. The Bengals are. It's tied 20-20 at that point. The Bengals at some point, and I didn't realize this as it was all happening until it was pointed out on the broadcast, that they lost their starting long snapper. They had to bring in their backup long snapper, tight end Mitchell Wilcox. His snap is slow, a little high. Minka Fitzpatrick blocks it, comes racing in and gets a hand on it. Goes to overtime. The Bengals end up missing, 2 kicks, I think, in overtime? Or just one?
Well, it was the extra point and then the 20-something yarder there in overtime, right?
I mean, that's what I'm asking. It was just the one in overtime. It was the extra point and then the quote-unquote chip shot, but I think we're all realizing there are no chip shots in the NFL whenever you lose your long snapper. Boswell misses from 55 off the left upright, but then redeems himself with 53-yarder with very little to basically the last play of the game. And so it just that's how this game ends. It's just an insane set of circumstances. Again, improbable that Pittsburgh was able to win this game. Improbable this game went to overtime, and it really just came down to the Bengals losing their starting long snapper.
Yeah, 29 wide left was the miss for McPherson, along with the blocked extra point there. Special teams matters, right? You know, if you got if you're listening to this and you have any young kids, teach them to throw left-handed and long snap, and they'll probably always have a job. You know, we tell you the thing we always stress throughout the offseason, special teams, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, we even talked ahead of this game, man, if the Steelers going to find a way somehow to upset the Bengals in this game on the road, going to have to be maybe something similar to the game against the Bills back in week 1, you know, big special teams play. Not in my mind did I have blocked extra point as time expired in regular time expiring to send that team or send that game into overtime and be the huge difference maker in that game. Now, I think I read from even our buddy Paul Dana or something to the line of, Wilcox was even supposed to be that left wing over there on that. So when he went to long snapper, I think the right wing became the left wing, and you always have to you're trying to move pieces around and all like that. So, and people say, well, why don't you have a long snapper more ready and all like that? Well, they just don't have the hours in practice. Now, look. Can players take it upon themselves to meet out, to stay after practice longer and work on that stuff? Absolutely, they can. And, there's something to that. I think if you're like the 52nd or 53rd man on the roster, that might be something to kind of work on there. You remember years ago, obviously, with the James Harrison having to come into the game and, snapping that out of bounds and all like that. But, and we just got recently done talking about Bill Belichick and that 10-minute, explanation he had about the evolution of long snappers, and it makes a big difference, man, for sure. And what a what a game by Minka Fitzpatrick overall. I mean, you basically started off with a pick 6, and you go throughout the game and had what was it, a team high 14 tackles, I think, in that game, and then you add in a blocked extra point to essentially, in so many words, win the game, if you will, or play a big part in winning the game. So I just can't get over what a crazy, second half of the fourth quarter and overtime period it was, for sure.
Even by the Steelers' lofty standards, that one was a bonkers turn the dial to 11 kind of game. If you're wondering, I read an interesting article in the Post-Gazette earlier this week prior to the game. I believe Derek Watt is now the Steelers' backup snapper. So if something ever happened to Christian Kuntz and you wondered who is plan B, it was Derek Tuska in camp. And then obviously he gets released and Jameer Jones comes in. So apparently the Watts were training to long snap. And now with TJ out, I'll assume that role defaults to Derek Watt.
Yeah, maybe they spend a couple of extra minutes after practice.
Maybe they will. It's not a bad idea to spend extra time.
Yeah, and obviously the Steelers long snapper should what's his name?
Christian Kuntz.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. That Christian Kuntz. After I got into the film of that after the game and all, I thought, man, that guy should be a 3-star of the game every game. That there's no issues, especially when you see what all the Bengals went through late in that game there. So long snapping matters for sure, and that played a big part in that game. And like you, I didn't even see I missed a report that the Bengals were without their long. I didn't. When did he get injured? Do you know?
No idea. I knew about it when they came out to kick the extra point, and they said the long snapper was out.
Okay.
That's why when Danny Smith talks about there are no chip shots in the NFL, it's an operation. It's not just a kick. There's a snap, there's a hold, there's a kick. And I think this proved if that operate, because it's so tight, it's so timed, so specifically, so consistently. If there's any disruption to it, even on the overtime kick, the 29-yarder, a quote unquote chip shot, there was no pressure. It was just a high snap. It screwed up the operation, the timing, and you have a really good kicker like McPherson just absolutely push it extremely wide left. And so you can see what an operation does to screw with the rhythm, timing, and flow, even with a really good kicker like McPherson.
Laces out, Dan.
Yeah, that was laces in, and you kick the laces, and that screws it up as well. So anyway, let's start with the defense. Let's start with
real quick. How many times did you in the fourth quarter and overtime did you say to yourself, this is over, they're gonna lose?
Well, I tweeted it when they were coming out for the extra point because I didn't realize the long snapper was hurt, but B, what are the odds that they're going to block the extra point here? I mean, it felt like that game was over, so Twitter had fun with that, as they should. But I mean, I thought at that point it was over, and then the rest of it was just a blur and just a fever dream of what is even happening.
There could not be a game to go any longer than that one. And there were about 5 times I thought, there it goes. You know, I came close to tweeting it once, but didn't. All right. Have we got the superlatives out of the way, or whatever you want to call those? The shock and awe and disbelief of it all. And I mean, it wasn't other than the Steelers, some plays on defense, obviously wasn't a great overall game by, most standards. I think you would agree with that. A lot of errors, a lot of poor play offensively on both sides of, on both teams in this game. Where would you like to start here?
Yeah, let's start with Minkah and this defense and try to come up with some superlatives for him, because he was as good as he's ever been in any one game. And I know he was, weirdly dogged last year, only had 2 interceptions, a down year for Minkah Fitzpatrick. To me, that was all nonsense, and he certainly quieted any of those whispers or concerns or thoughts yesterday. What's the stat line you mentioned? 14 tackles and a pick 6 on the second play of the game, the block extra point. I thought his tackling, again, we talk about the playmaking so much, some of the open field tackles he made, the fourth down play with Joe Mixon, that saves a touchdown, holds the Bengals to a field goal. I mean, I think him as a tackler is really underrated, but of course his ball skills are just off the chart.
Yeah, one of those, he came down and filled the alley, over there on the left side, I think, and made a strong play there. However, as good as that was, though, I think you would agree, and I think we said this coming out of last season when Minkah led the team in total tackles. I don't think you want to get in a habit of having Minkah have to lead the team in tackles on a week-to-week basis. You obviously do what you have to do to win the game, and they that's what it took to win the game. And you're micro analyzing this at this point, but they're not going to win a lot of games, I don't think, if Minkah Fitzpatrick has to continually make 14 tackles in a game.
I agree. And I know many people will say, well, the Bengals ran 94 plays, but even if you try to extrapolate that to, say, 70 plays, Minkah still comes in around 10, 11 tackles, still leads the team. Those are not things you want to have consistently happen going forward. But as you said, do whatever it takes to get the win yesterday, and Minkah was such a key component of it. And again, the pick 6, reading that smash concept, driving on the ball, picking it off, finishing the play, just right off the top, reminding you this is the best free safety in football.
Absolutely, and very opportunistic, if you will, and he seems real. Just imagine, when and if this team gets Casey back, and how this defense might be. And the blow of losing Watt was obviously tough there, but I mean, he showed that he can, and even things that stick out with Minkah. There was a completion, I think. It was the one that Burrow extended the play a little bit over there and threw it over to the sideline. I think it was Chase over there, just over the head of Witherspoon. Real crushing hit by Minkah on that side, kind of reminiscent of the pass breakup against was it Marquise Brown that ended up jarring that ball loose. Obviously, right. This one didn't jar the ball loose, but I mean, he got there on in a hurry on that, and those kind of players see that on tape, opposition, and who knows if that, if that might not make a difference down the road, that I'm going to get smacked along the sideline here. So, I mean, Minkah did everything that he needed to do as far as what you would ask him to do in that game, and help provide victory for sure.
And the one play that gets forgotten here, because I believe, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly, Chase scored the next play, but it was the 10 seconds left, 1st and goal from the 6 to throw in the middle of the end zone to Mike Thomas and Minkah. I think Thomas
that
heard
ball's
Minkah's
already
footsteps.
out. Yeah, ball.
But I think Minkah's presence is influencing that, obviously, and he helps lay a big hit there to knock that ball out. So I mean, obviously that there's a drop component, but that guy heard footsteps because Minkah was coming downhill.
All right, I guess we're focusing on defense here to start. So, what a game by Alex Highsmith, right?
3 sacks, first time in his NFL. I mean, he had 3 sacks until week 16 last year. He had 3 sacks coming into that game. So just to put in perspective where he's at, when this guy gets hot, I mean, his sacks come in bunches. That's what happened last year. That's what happened yesterday with 3 of them against a good left tackle in Jonah Williams. 7 sacks total as a defense. Finishing the play. I think that was one of the big things that Highsmith said that he wanted to work on, was finishing the play, finishing opportunity. He certainly did yesterday, turning pressures into sacks into fumbles. This guy wanted double digits this year. He's 30% of the way there, one game in. So, I mean, it's a really solid start.
Yeah, look, he's that spin move's working for him right out of shoot. A little bit of a ghost, I believe, too. And in that game that y'all 22 just came out, I know either one of us have gotten to get deep into it. I've watched the TV copy twice already. For a guy that missed the amount of time that he did during training camp and obviously all of the preseason. He looked no worse for wear at all. Looked very conditioned, and I think even that was kind of stated that the biggest thing is all that time that he missed. One of the players or coaches, I think, said it was or I think it was Cam Hayward. He kept himself conditioned, and he really looked it. He made a difference in that game for sure, as did several other guys on that defense. But what a great performance for Alex Highsmith out of the chute, and they're going to need more of that. Obviously, he's going to have to become the man now. And we talked about heading into the season that. When that front was, assuming that front stayed healthy, that there were going to be several opportunities for Alex Highsmith to have to be freed up in some one-on-one type rush situations against left tackles, and he was going to be asked to win his share of those. And right out of chute, he did that on that side, and now you're just going to need more of that moving forward. Cameron Hayward, boy, he worked over that rookie left guard Volson out of North Dakota State several times. That was a welcome to the NFL moment. Week 1, having to go up against Cameron Hayward. I thought he played extremely well, and I think someone gave you a little bit of. Razz you a little bit predicting, and it obviously wasn't an interception, but it's the first thing that jumped in. It's the first thing that jumped in my head as soon as that play happened there. You had predicted, I think, in your stats prediction post that Cameron Hayward have an interception, and said, I think someone in the comments said, that ain't going to happen. Well, obviously it technically went into the books as as a fumble recovery there. But I still think you're going to get those because of those kind of plays, getting to the quarterback, getting those hands up, deflecting those passes, those sort of things there. I just thought Hayward had a good game. Had Miles Jack, I thought he played really well, had a key pass breakup in that game. I thought Edmonds, for the lack of, there was maybe a missed tackle or two in there that you could have done without. I thought Edmonds played a good game. Bush, it wasn't awful. In fact, probably his best game, including the preseason. There, Arthur Millette, I mean, that guy had a good game coming off of the edge as well. Nice, outside of some penalties, some nice plays by Cameron Sutton and Akella Witherspoon on top of it. And we talk about rushing coverage going hand in hand. I thought Sunday against the Bengals was a good example of that.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here. Just to kind of go piece by piece with Volson, you're right, North Dakota State rookie. You don't see that power at the FCS level, even at a good program like North Dakota State. I mean, that bull rush was just working all day. And I just thought about last night watching back the game, I thinking about the joke I made. Hayward works with Chuck Smith during the offseason. They're working on swipes and spins and getting the game action. It's just bull rush, bull rush, bull rush. And that's what Cam Hayward's all about. The strongest guy collapse in the pocket. And even the one sack on Burrow, that was really good contained by Hayward. Highsmith spun inside, gave Burrow the edge to try to escape, and Hayward, I think, kind of covered. That wasn't designed, but covered for Highsmith and contained Burrow. And I think Highsmith might have picked up the sack. It wasn't Hayward, but Hayward should be really responsible for the sack there overall. I thought generally the quarterback rush lane integrity, keeping the pocket was pretty good. Burrow had escape lanes up the middle, but not a lot to the outside. With Millette, it was interesting. I thought he did play well, had that, crucial sack forced fumble at the very end of overtime there. Pittsburgh kept running that same exact blitz, this wraparound blitz with this very overloaded look to one side, and they would have Highsmith stunt around to contain the opposite side. They ran that actually back to back the final two plays the defense was on the field for, and Millette was coming in off the edge, and he's got a good sense of timing and is a decent blitzer overall. So that was good. I thought Sutton was really good in this game. I mean, that breakup he had on Jamar Chase on fourth down late in the fourth quarter, where he's covering Mike Thomas on the curl. They're running the smash behind the corner route, and he sees the ball. Got a lot of air on that. Yeah, a lot. I mean, just a great play there. I've seen him make those plays in camp. I thought Levi Wallace played well before he got hurt. I did think Witherspoon struggled a fair amount in this game. Now he does have a tough matchup facing a lot of Jamar Chase in this one, but I thought overall he was not as sharp or as quick as he needed to be. The touchdown at the end, the game winner, he's got outside leverage there. He can't get beat to the outside, even on a speed out like that. He's got to be able to funnel that to the inside and, know where your help is at overall. So I thought Witherspoon was not great in this game overall. But again, collectively, defense, 5 turnovers, 7 sacks, good run defense overall, saved the fourth down. Joe Mixon, 31-yard run. I mean, obviously, there's not too many things to complain about when it comes to the level of dominance this defense had against what's supposed to be one of the best offenses in football. The
Levi Wallace push out on who was Chase over there in the corner of the end zone, saved a score there for sure. And you look at the rushing totals overall, Cincinnati rushed for 133 yards. And Joe, it's one of those, how much can you turn your head away? I mean, Joe Mixon had 82 yards, but one of those runs was 31 yards. So, it's hard to go through this and cherry pick, but, for the most part, if I would have told you that they held Joe Mixon under 90 yards rushing, and I think that's even a stat that I had, where was my keys to the game there? Under 90 yards that you would have taken that no matter, especially if only one explosive play in that, right? You would have taken, under 90 yards rushing from Joe Mixon.
Well, I mean, he only averaged just over 3 yards a carry, even considering and counting the 31-yarder on that 4th and 1, burst up the middle. And so they really contained him. Well, I thought run defense was good overall. There were still some plays missed. Mixon still had some yards after contact, some plays where it felt like he was stuffed at the line of scrimmage. I thought overall the pursuit and chase and finish and maybe, swarm tackling could have been a little bit better. But overall, considering, the last time Pittsburgh saw Mixon, he ran for $165 and 2 touchdowns on him. This run defense to me was pretty much night and day.
Yeah, look, he totaled 255 yards on 46 carries with 2 touchdowns in the 2 games last year. And the stat that I had in the keys to the game was in the 5 games that he's played in against the Steelers, that he's gained less than 90 yards on the ground. The Bengals were 0-6. So now 0-7
Nice.
by keeping them under 90 yards. Also, the Bengals were also 5-6 in 2021 in regular season games that Mixon rushed for under 90 yards in. So that 90 yards, you think about it, if he gets a couple more yards and maybe some of them goal line situations, I don't know, might be a different story there for sure. You look, and once again, you look at their rushing yards, 133. Joe Burrow had 47 of them, and how many of those? I know a good chunk of that 20-something came in on an overtime scramble, right?
Yeah, again, when he scrambled, he went up the middle. I mean, Pittsburgh didn't blitz a lot in this game, a lot of 4-man rushes, and so the C's would part quite a bit for him. Again, I thought the overall contain in terms of not letting Burrow escape and roll out to a side and keep his eyes downfield and make plays with his arm. I thought that was generally pretty good. There was some work to be done in terms of containing him up the middle, but he's a mobile quarterback you're rushing for. Just to look big picture, I mean, for this defense to play so consistently throughout, being on the field for 94 plays in this one, it's the tied for the second most plays ever run against the Steelers in a single game in their history. To do that week 1 when conditioning's a factor, guys maybe getting their legs under them a little bit. A guy like Highsmith who didn't play this summer, limited by injury, to do that is remarkable and probably too easily forgotten about.
Especially a week 1 game, right? On the road.
Yeah, on the road.
Yeah.
Tough environment.
Tough environment. Another stat that I had here pregame, make the other Joe throw a ton. A byproduct, hopefully, of them shutting down the run would be, and you go back to last season, in the 2 games, Burrow, two games combined in 2021, Burrow attempted just 42 pass. Just 42 pass attempts in the 2 meetings there. Obviously, he had a lot more than that. In his first 2 NFL seasons heading into yesterday, the Bengals were 6-13-1 in regular season games that included Burrow attempting 30 or more pass attempts. He was 6-0 in regular season games that he had attempted less than 30 pass attempts in. So, it wasn't hard to see the short trend there with him that make him put the ball in the air more than 30 times, and you probably got a pretty decent chance of winning the game. Now what did he end up attempting? 50 something passes in that game. Here's the thing that stuck out, at least in the first half, and I think even a little bit into the third quarter. He was not comfortable in that pocket. He looked very kind of happy. He looked like a rookie quarterback, really. He looked very, very skittish, eyes not downfield, kind of looking around because that pass rush was just so kind of fierce on him. And I did think, though, that into that third quarter, fourth quarter, I thought he got a lot more comfortable, handling the rush or at least seeing the rush and those kind of things there. But it was really, really evident in the first half of that game of just how uncomfortable he was in that pocket. And I think he rattled himself with a couple of those, early turnovers and all.
Yeah, it was just good to get the 7 sacks on him. Obviously, the 2 games combined last year sacked Burrow just twice, partially because, like you said, he didn't throw the ball a lot, and they stayed on schedule a lot more with a stronger run game, so they all kind of go hand in hand in that respect. I think he was probably more mobile in the second half and overtime, just using his legs and not trying to make too many plays from the pocket, and that's probably where the majority of his rushing yards came from. But, yeah, I mean, this is a guy that, it was Joe Cool, perfect, and was a tough guy to rattle, tough guy to get to, and Pittsburgh got to him. I mean, again, the first 2 plays of the game yesterday was the Hayward sack followed by the Minka pick 6. So that's just a great way to quiet the crowd and set the tone early and, put some points on the board before your offense does.
Anything stick out coverage wise?
A lot of cover too, a lot more zone. I have to go through the all 22 myself, so I don't have a ton of thoughts here, but a fair amount of zone. I just thought guys had really active eyes in terms of Sutton's interception was a great, undercutting of the route and
what
and
a great catch. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a receiver high point that went over his head and on the move like that. Witherspoon, good eyes. Obviously, Minka's play was fantastic. Watt, his pick, reading the 3-step drop of Burrow. And I mean, those are plays he just makes it. My thought was, I think he kind of gets better at those, TJ swap moments because in training camp, lineman can't cut and Watt knows he can't touch the quarterback. So he just kind of plays the pass a bit more and just tries to bat passes down, which he did routinely in Latrobe. So I think this is kind of a quirk of that setting there that makes him more effective in these situations. But overall, I thought the eyes for Pittsburgh was very good in this game.
It's easy to talk about how big of a loss Watt is from just a rushing the quarterback standpoint. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, but he kept terming himself, you need to be a game wrecker. Those other little things, and they're not little. I mean, the way he crashes down against the run and I don't know what they were trying to trap pass, kind of use trap pass kind of action to kind of block him on some of those runs. I mean, that's just, you're going to get beat on that by him 9 times out of 10. And as you mentioned, just the ability to kind of slow play that at times, and the ability to get air and just his knowledge of knowing what to expect and when to expect it and either bat those passes down or in that one case intercept them. Those are the additional things that you, I mean, it goes without saying that you obviously miss that go along with, the 20-something sacks and just, consistently pressuring the quarterback. And he was real impactful. And look, he even had that sack taken away from him due to that penalty late in the game there on top of it.
The play that he got hurt on.
Right.
Is that the one you're talking about?
No.
It wasn't a sack. Yeah. The Cam Sutton holding.
Right. The Cam Sutton holding call. So, that, and then boy, what a play by Millette. I mean, on that corner blitz off the side there late in the game, that can't be understated. And I think Brian Baldinger did a good job of not, and the ball's going to be marked where it was marked anyway, because of the ruling and all like that. But Millette gets up off the ground and ends up chasing Mixon and,
good point.
Somewhat trying to slow him down after he had picked up that loose football on top of it there. So, some good goal line stands in that, along the way. Zach Taylor, however, probably kicking himself for not challenging that one Jamar Chase catch at the goal line there. But look, we said, how is this team going to win some games this year? It was going to be the defense, right? Having to carry and hopefully you get 23 points out of your offense there. Well, they more than did their part yesterday, and you get that many turnovers in a game, you expect it to be a lot more lopsided.
Yeah.
What would the stat of the weird had been had they lost that game?
Had Pittsburgh lost that game?
Right, on a 5-0 turnover ratio.
I can check. I think I saw in game the CBS crew said the last time that a team was, I think, -5 in the turnover ratio and won a game was the Cardinals or Falcons in 2012. I don't know what it would have been for Pittsburgh in that one. I guess it actually would have been that 2012 game, I suppose, to shoe on the other foot for Pittsburgh. So about a decade, probably.
I mean, you're talking. I mean, I know it has happened, but I might have written about sometime over the years there. But yeah, that would have been brutal to lose the game. I would much rather even have a tie, But to lose the game 5-0 in the turnover column. And look, a key stat in this game is something that the Steelers didn't do, and that's turn the football over.
Right. I think that's what this comes down to. For all of Pittsburgh's warts offensively, the one thing they did well was they didn't turn the football over. And the Bengals did 5 times. That obviously is the difference maker in that game. So any other thoughts there? Final thoughts with the Steelers defense? I'm pretty sure basically every defender played in this game except for maybe Marcus Allen. I want to say everyone who dressed. I mean, even Killebrew played in this game. They actually did use that 3 safety package as well with Trey Norwood and Killebrew, but mostly Norwood being that third safety in the game.
Okay. Yeah, you might be right there.
But yeah, I mean, just through my charting, which is a lot of fun. I was up till 3 a.m. just getting the actual charting done before I put the whole thing together. So 94 plays again, just a ridiculous amount of snaps for a week 1 game.
Yeah, that can't be. You always seem to get the short end of the stick of those, don't you?
I do. I'm switching with Tom. I'm mad at Tom. Anyway, any other thoughts with the Steelers defense?
Real quick, we'll go over here some quick snap totals here on the defensive side of the football. Edmonds, Minka, and Witherspoon played 100% of the snaps. Sutton played all but 1. He played 99, and I guess these include penalties, obviously. Miles Jack, 87 snaps in his Steelers debut, the most of the inside linebackers. Alex Highsmith, 83 after not playing in the preseason. That really speaks to his conditioning there for sure. Larry Ogunjobi in his debut, 53 snaps, 53% of the snaps in total. And as you mentioned, even Killebrew played a defensive snap, did he not?
Right. That was the one where Sutton came off. That was a big base where they had 3 safeties with just 1 corner on the field. The ones with Norwood is a big nickel with 5 DBs on the field. All
right. James Pierre did not play a defensive snap. Marcus Allen did not play a defensive snap.
Okay, Pierre as well. But that was, I mean, everyone else played. I mean,
right.
And so like it was literally every guy who was available. And of course, Allen, Pierre working on special teams. At least Pierre played on special teams. I'm assuming, I don't remember seeing him, but I'm assuming he logged some time.
Oh, yeah, 16 snaps for him. In fact, man, how good is Boykin on as a gunner?
So good. Like stupid good.
Oh, as a gunner. I mean, you do this.
I wrote about that this summer. I said, he's doing an incredible job. Yeah.
Holy moly. I mean, you watch this stuff as much as we do over the years, and certain things like that just jump out. That guy, Miles, and Pierre did a good job too, but Boykin does such a good job at gunner. It overshadows what Pierre does over there on the other side. I just thought I'd get that in there because that guy is. And someone got on you and said, boy, don't you have anything better to write about than writing about Miles Boykin as a gunner? I mean, that guy is solid. And look, and I think this was in your stats of the weird. Miles Boykin, 2 special teams tackles. Benny Snell, football, 2 special teams tackles.
Yeah, and both solo. And so those guys, I think they made up like maybe all the special teams tackles in this game. I don't know if anyone else had one. Maybe someone had another one.
Did Jameer have one on a kickoff or something, or over there on the side?
I think Kuntz might have even gotten a half tackle in there. But regardless, 4 tackles from those 2 guys, 2 core guys. That
Jameer Jones had one, was credited one, and Connor Hayward with a half with an assisted one.
That was a big stick that he had. Yeah. So, but still. 2 solo tackles for Boykin, 2 for Benny Snell. Again, Boykin as a gunner, his releases, beating vices, really like incredibly high level stuff as a gunner. And Harvin was decent in this game, not excellent, but I thought the net was good because of some of the jobs that Boykin and Pierre did.
All right, thanks for coming, everyone. Oh, we got to talk about the offense, don't we?
Real quick, had the Steelers lost this game, the last team to basically have no turnovers, the opponent have at least 5 turnovers and lose, that would have been the 98 Lions who lost to the Bears 31-27 and had no turnovers, and the Bears had 5. And so that would have been the example. The starting quarterback for the Lions that day was Charlie Batch. So there's a little half full circle there.
Well, good thing it's not completed.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Dave, let's flip over to the Steelers offense. And I mean, it was pretty rough as expected. In some ways, it was maybe a bit better. I thought
it was better. It was better than in totality, including overtime. Obviously, it ended up being a little better than what I expected. Now, that's not saying too terribly much, but look, Trubisky was only sacked once. So
that's what I was going to say. Yeah, the pass pro was better than I thought.
Yeah, dice it up however you want to dice it up, but your quarterback only getting sacked one time, 38 pass attempts. Now that was the single best incompleted pass we might see all season. Was Mitch Trubisky, getting rid of that football smartly in the end zone in the direction of who was it, Freiermuth or Gentry? I forget who it was, but
Freiermuth, yeah.
But look, they allowed just one sack. Dan Moore, as expected, had his hands full on that side, but I think generally represented himself okay over there. Had the holding takedown over there on that side. We haven't looked at the all 22, so it's hard to get into individual performances. But at first blush, I thought Kevin Dotson played a pretty good game overall, at least at first blush on the TV tape. Now that's always dangerous to do when you don't have the end zone view to look at there for sure. But there was just, the running game, it had to be manufactured through a lot of, end arounds and stuff like that with Chase Claypool, because they weren't blowing things open up front for Najee and those kind of things there. So, should we be thankful that this team managed, 75 rushing yards as a whole, no matter how they did it? Talk to me. 36 yards by Claypool.
Right.
On 6
the
carries.
leading rusher on this team pretty easily. So I would just say the offense was messy and disconnected in a lot of ways, just not even from an execution standpoint, but in the second half, there were a lot of just busted plays. Whether there was a pass by Trubisky where it felt like no one was even within 30 yards of him. There was a busted screen. There was an audible that Trubisky had in the second half where Dotson didn't get the check. And I'm sure the all-22 is going to be fun on that one. He starts to pull and then realizes, oh, we're all pass protecting. So he kind of spins around. And so there were just some messiness like that to run. I thought in pass pro, this team did better than I thought, but they did not win the point of attack in the run game. They got 0 push with the goal line, red zone work. They were just atrocious in trying to win the line of scrimmage. And so you just really had no semblance of a run game overall. And that's supposed to be your foundation in this one. And you really couldn't build off of that. You got behind the sticks quite a bit. 4-15 on third down, that's not a sustainable model of winning going forward. So, they'll kind of go hand in hand. But I just thought the offensive line did not win the point of attack in this game in terms of the run game.
From the what it is worth department, PFF has Chukwuma Okorafor as the highest graded offensive lineman at 70.1, followed by Dan Moore at 68.7. James Daniels 64.8. Trent Scott only played two snaps as the extra.
Cole and Dotson left.
Yeah.
Where do they come in?
Dotson 56.4. Next to last behind Mason Cole at 54.9. Looks like Dotson got dinged mostly in the running game.
Okay. I'm just glad. I'm just glad Cole is healthy. He got hurt. I feel like, he just suffered a very serious injury. I was very concerned about the drop off from Cole to Hassenauer. Hassenauer has a high snap in that game. So happy and surprised that Cole was able to return. He's a tough dude.
Yeah, he is. Was that an ankle or something?
It looked like an ankle. This guy, I watched him at camp. He just 95% tape. He just wrapping his foot up as much tape as you possibly can give to the guy. And he's probably playing through some pain, but this dude's really tough.
It did look disconnected. It looked like they were trying to do anything they could. I don't think you want to get in a habit of Chase Claypool carrying the football that many times. I will say this, but that Jaylen Warren, couple of those runs by Claypool, Jaylen Warren out front blocking. That's very, very noticeable, even on the TV tape there. So, they had to manufacture a lot of stuff. Some stuff that I can't wait to look at on all 22. Are we really going to get in the habit of putting Gunnar Olszewski down low and having to block down on some base base defensive ends and put that on him. I mean, you can't get a bigger body in there like George Pickens or something to do that kind of work. I mean, it just looks like one of those busted runs in the second half there for Najee Harris. In fact, I think there were probably two that maybe you could pin on Olszewski. But I mean, you're asking that guy to do something you probably shouldn't ask him to be doing.
Yeah, you're probably going to see it more, though. And he's a tough guy, but obviously, I mean, they did that in the preseason on Trevon Walker. Remember, he tried to crack on a crack toss there. So,
I mean,
you're going to see it going forward.
Right, and I understand he's probably going to fail in those situations. So it's hard you put a guy in a situation like that, I don't see how you can get on the kid, for not being able to execute maybe the way you draw it up.
Right. No, I get that. I mean, ideally, a guy like Claypool is cracking or Pickens is cracking. They're a bigger, more physical. Well, I mean, Gunner's got a lot of effort. And he's a pretty physical guy, but he's not the bigger body. So, I mean, ideally, Gunner's is running some of these plays, carrying the ball, where Claypool's cracking, but sometimes you mix it up.
Are you doing it because you want the personnel to look something and maybe you're working on, well, we got to watch him to maybe do this and, maybe that'll keep somebody at home, because Gunner played 9 snaps in this game, and I know two of them were runs that he was asked to block down on. Let me look here: 9 offensive snaps for Gunner Olszewski, and I'm pretty sure 2 of those were him asking to block down inside.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and check it. I mean, I get your point there. It's asking a lot and not putting a guy in a best position to succeed, but I'd have to look at it more in depth myself.
My immediate thought is why can't you have Pickens in there doing that?
Yeah. But what was Pickens' snap count in this game in relation to Boykin? Obviously, a quiet game overall, 1 catch, 3 yards.
It ended up being higher than what you would thought because you just didn't see him in the game, right?
Okay. Well, what did
45? 45.
How many did Boykin play?
Boykin played 8.
Okay. It seemed like Boykin got in early. They took that deep shot to him. Maybe there was a game plan to get Boykin on the field early. But yeah, when Pickens was in, I mean, it was pretty quiet.
Right.
And then
the thing is, too, do you complete, we just praised Boykin earlier in the show, but does Pickens catch that ball down the left side?
Maybe. I will say, for Boykin being the height, weight, speed guy, even during training camp and now in this game, he's not really proven to be a good vertical threat. He's just always been off in camp and yesterday.
Right.
He's like just Arnaz Battle at this point, right? Really good special teams player. How many snaps did Claypool play? I'm assuming more than 45.
Oh yeah, he led all wide receivers in snaps overall.
Really, even over Deontay?
Yeah, he played 58 snaps. Deontay played 51.
Okay, gotcha. With Deontay, it was a quiet most of the game, and then he just makes. To me, is that maybe it's too much hyperbole, but to me that's like catch of the year stuff. That catch that he had, I can't talk about how good of a grab he had, and I only wish it would have led to the game-winning drive, because we'd be talking about that catch probably a little bit more.
Exactly, and he also made another great catch, I think, over there on the right side. Was that first or second half? I don't remember exactly when it was in the game there, but a couple of very nice catches. And, you talk about, Pickens and the body control that Pickens has. You've had some great body control by Deontay over. But look, that's the kind of stuff that, we were running out of superlatives to talk about when Antonio Brown was in Pittsburgh, right? Mm-hmm. You pay a guy now the kind of money that Deontay Johnson's making. Yeah, those kind of things you want to show up on the tape, and it was a key. It was obviously that drive ended up stalling, right?
Right. Yeah, I did not. I think that was. I want to say the Boswell miss, if I'm not mistaken. I can go back and check that one. But I mean, he's going back for the ball. He's got his backside hand up in the air, basically straight up in the air, and he's being contacted. Like Jamar Chase made that incredible near catch, but no one even touched him. I mean, Johnson's doing this through contact with the body control, then get his feet down. I mean, with everything else to do on that play, you gotta get your feet in bounds. I don't know how he did that, and you're right. It was that drive did end in the Boswell 55-yard doink.
All right. Some concerning stuff. Obviously, only 5 successful designed runs in this game. What was it? What did I say? Two or three of them by Chase Claypool there. That's not what you need on a weekly basis. This team had 40 net yards of offense in the 5 possessions that followed their first offensive TD of the game. And obviously one of those 5 possessions was a kneel down to end the half. So that's obviously not going to cut it. 52 net yards in the second half. No, wait a minute. No, in the third and fourth quarter on Sunday, the Steelers offense had 54 net yards on 6 possessions in the third and fourth quarter. Now, obviously, they added to the net yards appropriately, I guess, in overtime there. But Trubisky was 4 of 12 on pass attempts of 10 air yards or more in this game, and I think 2 of those actually came in overtime there. So he had a nice intended air yards number, I think, of 8 point something, but his completed air yards distance was like 5 point something there. So that obviously isn't where it's going to need to be. I mean, they got to get this thing figured out, and I don't know how they're going to do it. Especially you lose if how long is Najee? They're saying this injury might not be serious for Najee, but 1 game missed is serious enough, right? You think he sprained that foot again? That's what the thinking is, right?
Maybe. I mean, at first I thought he snapped his leg because even before I knew he was hurt, I watched his leg get bent back. I literally gasped out loud. I was like, "Oh my God, I think Najee just snapped his leg," and he was writhing in pain. And then the guy somehow walks off. I don't know how you walk off when your leg gets bent like that. All the yoga, I guess, that he does. So we'll see. I mean, the report was it was, quote, not a big deal. What does that mean medically? I have no idea. So we'll just have to wait and see. I will say something positive for this offense. I talked about, was it sustainable for Pittsburgh to win 1 possession, ultra close games? And I don't know if it is, but they're 1-0 to start the year, and Trubisky to lead that final drive, that great scramble drill throw to Pat Freiermuth, just making enough plays to win the game. That is a little Ben-esque in terms of what he did last year. Didn't play great overall, but just found a way to rally and make the last play of the game. And Trubisky, to his credit, did that.
Yeah, look, I think I said before the game, I've got to see, and we talked about the part of not having Roth. Yeah, you don't. Roethlisberger was obviously on his last leg, last couple seasons here, but the one thing that he did give you was those late game, finding a way to get it done. And talked about how until we see Mitch Trubisky do it, provide that stuff, the questions are going to be there. Well, it wasn't pretty, but he did it. I mean, that extended play on the free play, I mean, that was pretty big. Also had another big completion to Freiermuth. The trick play looked clunky, but it worked early in the game. If I would have told you a couple of the explosive plays in this game would be 30-yarders to the Steelers' 2 tight ends ahead of the game, you wouldn't have believed me, I don't think. And but it was good enough. I mean, you asked the guy, to get you a win, and he did that. But I think we both agree it's got to be a lot. That kind of play is not going to get you a lot of wins moving forward there. So it's the things that it's the 2 things that we've talked about going into this season. Got to find a way to run the football. Got to find a way, because I'm not expecting this to be an offense, even if they start being able to run the football better than what they have had. I don't expect this offense to be one of those ones that's going to string together the 12 play drives. Okay.
Sure.
So you're going to have to find a chunkability factor somehow, some way to this thing. And that's going to, most of those are going to come because you're being able to push football down the field. And until they're able to start doing that, it's going to look like this. And my concern is, even if it gets a little better than what it looked like, on Sunday against the Bengals, in both factors, in both phases, the running game and the explosive play factor, how much better is it going to be?
Yeah, I think obviously the idea of, just force 5 turnovers and find a way on offense, and the opposing long snapper gets hurt, and they miss
push
a bunch of kicks.
Push that button.
The model isn't sustainable. I thought about the reference that Cam Hayward made, and it was funny, and it's kind of true. He talked about, hey, we're zombies. Like, we don't die, but zombies rot. They decay. And while they claim some victims early in the movie, they always seem to die in the end. And so that's the concern about, is this, how do you move forward? What is your game plan? What is your identity? How do you win going forward? And so that's my concern there. But again, for week 1, you take the victory however you can get it, and you proceed going forward. Yeah,
people have a right to have get on us. We didn't learn our lesson from week 1 a year ago.
No, look, I'll see you week 1 next year, Dave, and we'll see where we're at.
Look, I'll tell you this. Dang it! If I would have known about those black Air Force Ones before we did the Friday show, I don't know. I might have changed my mind. Was that the one of the 1.65 difference that
maybe
that Mike Tomlin adds? What a great man! I don't know about much. I didn't know much about the culture, about the significance of that, prior to that happening, and all with Tomlin doing that, but the message, I think, after the fact, and obviously learning more about, what that means and the semblance and all like that, it's quite it's quite impressive. You got to hand it to Tomlin, right? I mean, to get him in the frame of mind, like, look, we're going up there. We don't care what we look like, what we're wearing. We're going to go take what's ours. Kind of mentality is kind of the way I took from. Now, look, can you buy shoes every week and get it to translate into wins? No, but for a week 1 message, and everybody's down 8-9 Steelers, and all the NFL talking heads have the Bengals picked across the board. Most of the people like us have them picked to lose that game. They found a way to win.
And that's the theme of Tomlin. Find a way to win when no one can believe or expect or really understand how you won. Now, if you want to know the least cool conversation in the history of conversations, it was me and Dave trying to figure out what black Air Force Ones meant, because I still don't fully understand. And I think the moment was you sent me a video. I forget exactly what it was called, but it was like some meme culture YouTube video featuring Squidward. And I was like, I don't. What is this, Dave? I have no chance here.
No time for this.
I don't even understand what this is, but I think I get the gist of what the joke is. So I think I'm officially old. I've joined the old club because I don't understand what that means. But again, it's the master motivator. It's the leader of men. It's the never say I. It's the never say die. It's the don't blink. I'll cut your eyelids off from Tomlin. And it happens every year. And maybe shame on me for not expecting that more, because it's happened time and time and time again.
My main takeaway, and I'm sure we'll get corrected on this, or I will, was it's not cool to wear those, right?
On the joke of the shoes.
Yeah, well, I mean, the shoes are kind of looked down on, right?
Right. Yeah, the shady
as far
people,
as class, I guess. And shady,
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thought. The joke.
And that, in other words, we don't care my takeaway is we don't care what people think about us wearing this, and even if you want to throw in this makes us shady, I take that in the essence of shady, that we're going to go up there and take what's ours.
Right. We don't care what anyone says or thinks or does. We're doing our own thing, and that's that.
Right. I can't believe we just talked 5 minutes about shoes that I didn't know much about before even getting on this. But long story short here, this offense, look, we picked, or at least I picked the Bengals to win the game because I thought they were going to be the better team and win the game. And the Steelers, came away with a victory. All that be damned.
Right. I mean, again, had it not been for Bengals long snapper getting hurt, we're talking about a loss and the doom and gloom, and you do your little song and dance that you'll do at the start of the podcast. But that didn't happen, and ultimately, you just find a way to win. And again, it comes at a heavy cost, but you'd rather have that cost come in a victory because if you lose T.J. Watt and you lose that game, then it really hurts.
Oh,
yeah, really just depressed. I would have been just so upset here on this Monday. So it puts a little smile on your face. It's a small silver lining to the injury suffered in this game.
Well, look, if this team is to ultimately get into the playoffs, but we know how important divisional games are. I mean, to come out of the chute like that, week one on the road, most people have as an under 500 team this year, and to get an AFC North win against the defending AFC champions, that could end up being one of those games. I talked about. I thought they'd go 8-9 with a ceiling of 10-7 if they could steal a couple of games, which I didn't think they're going to be able to steal. Well, maybe that's one of the ones that they stole there. And you never know once you get into the season who you're going to face and how healthy that team's going to be at the time. But now you turn around here. This team's 1-0. Yeah, they've got their own injuries. You got a New England Patriots team coming to town that didn't look sharp and has got a busted up quarterback in Mac Jones with a back injury. And then after that, I'm getting way out there, you get a Browns team that, obviously without their starting quarterback. And then you get a Jets team that, gonna probably should have Flacco probably playing at quarterback there. I'm not saying, but you once again, you go to predict the season, and so many things can happen throughout a season, and you steal a win there and steal a win there. So look, next week's now here. So you're 1-0. Now you got to focus on the Patriots.
And eventually, if you keep stealing wins, it's not stealing. You're just expected to win because that's what you've been doing. But I get your point entirely. I mean, my entire focus on the first quarter of the season was the week 1 and the week 3 games, both AFC North games on the road, a pretty unusual quirk of the schedule. And I said, obviously, you can't drop both of those. At worst, you want to split. Now you're 1-0. If you can get a win against the Browns week 3, I know I'm ahead of myself, but if you can do that, then you're in a pretty good spot to start the year, regardless of what happens in week 2. Obviously would prefer the victory, but if you're 2-1, 2-0 against the North 3 weeks into the year, you're in a good situation. And the rest of the North won yesterday, and so it was good to get that victory as well to kind of start that pace early. But to get that win yesterday, as ugly as it was, to beat the Bengals on the road, it's all that really matters is just to survive and advance. That's the idea.
Right. All right. What else stuck out on offense? Jaylen Warren's good in pass protection too. Of course, we got to see a little bit of that during the preseason with him. I'm trying to think what else stuck out to me offensively. There wasn't. Freiermuth was Freiermuth. I mean, that you're going to need that guy to make plays like that throughout the season if you're going to win some games.
Well, I thought he was Freiermuth, but it was also good to see him get downfield. And I talked about that a lot this summer. Like, he was going to be more of a downfield threat. I said he was going to have a catch longer than 24 yards. He had 2 of them yesterday, a 31-yarder on that reverse flea flicker, and then a 26-yarder on that game-winning drive in overtime, that scramble drill. And then Gentry with a 30-something yarder. So, I mean, it was a nicely designed screen pass. I thought there were some nice concepts by Matt Canada in this game. Again, I thought just from a pure, though, just running the play as it was called, there were a lot of issues in this game, especially in the second half.
Right. They've got to get better with execution here. And once again, I'm not optimistic at all about, how this team's going to be able to run the football, if it's going to get much better. And I do worry about their ability to push the football down the field there enough, because they're going to have some chunk plays. And as you kind of kidded there, yeah, You just can't go into every game and say, just go get us 5 turnovers. We won't turn the football over, and everything will be fine. And man, when they had 17 points off of turnovers there to start with. I mean, you got to bury more of those when you get them on offense into the end zone. And Mitch Trubisky obviously said as much after the game.
Sure. I mean, at least this team got a red zone touchdown. I think they were were they 1-2 in the red zone? I believe.
I believe that number.
At one point they were. I don't know if they finished that way. I'm pretty sure. I mean,
red zone, 1 of 2, 50%.
I mean, I can live with that in the short term, I guess,
right,
to at least get that one. I mean, now partially it was aided by, I think, a questionable PI call on Pickens on that 3rd and goal, that back shoulder fade. So had that not happened, then they're kicking a field goal, and who knows what happens from there. We're probably talking about the lack of red zone execution, and I think that's still a concern because, again, the line got no push. They cannot run the ball at all in the low red zone. So that's a worry going forward. But ultimately, you did get a touchdown. You're 50%. The Bengals were what in the red zone? I think 2 of 4, 1 of 4.
They were 2 of 5.
2 of 5. Okay, I mean they were at 40%. So you're better than them in the red zone. You take that.
13. What was the stat of the weird on just 13 versus 32 in the first downs?
Yeah, in the first downs. It's the first time in Steelers history they've had fewer than 15 first downs, allowed more than 30, and won the game. That's only the 3rd time that's happened league-wide since 2003. So it had that disparity in first downs. Pittsburgh 13, Cincinnati 32, and win is improbable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other thoughts on this game? Boz, just clutch at the end there. Harvin had that nice 53-yarder to the Bengals 9. I thought earlier in the game he had struggled a bit, but the coverage, the net was pretty positive.
I would agree. Yeah.
There was the one, it was only a 40-yarder. I think that helped set the Bengals come back up initially, 30-yard net. And so need to see more from him, but hopefully, it was a little bit better, and hopefully it continues to get better going forward. So Dave, any other thoughts here? Anything else you want to talk about from a Steelers perspective?
No, I think we wrapped up. I'm just, like you, I'm excited to some things, especially in the offensive line, to look at on the all 22.
Would you believe this is the 4th week 1 overtime game under Mike Tomlin, and Pittsburgh is now 3-0-1 in those games?
Wow.
Weird. Week 1 overtime is pretty common. It only happened one time in Steelers history prior to Tomlin, but Tomlin gets on the sideline, and these games week 1 get pretty tight.
Okay, shall we take our beating in the emails here?
Yeah, just real quick. Any other overall week 1 thoughts? I didn't get to watch as much action as I wanted to, so focus on the game. Of course, watch the Sunday night game last night, and Dallas struggle, and Dak's hurt. But any just league-wide thoughts on opening weekend?
I think Cleveland played a little bit better than what I thought they would overall. I ran through some quick highlights of that. I'm trying to think what else stuck out to me that Baltimore did what they were supposed to do against the Jets there. Boy, Packers, is that going south there with Aaron Rodgers? Are they going to be calling for Aaron Rodgers' head?
Yeah, but didn't they open with a bad loss week 1 last year, and they righted the ship? So I'm not going to count them out just yet.
Giants beating the Titans.
How about that one?
Didn't necessarily see that one coming. Dallas is in trouble, man, if they don't have Dak, and I think that's a Captain Obvious kind of statement there. Might they want to trade for Mason Rudolph? But we'll, you're going to have to give up a 3rd or a 4th probably at this point, I would think, to get him away from Omar Khan, right?
Right. I think they're
unless you get closer to the trade deadline.
True. There are too many ties. The NFL needs to go back to 15-minute overtimes. You had a tie yesterday with the Colts and Texans. You had a near tie with the Steelers game. I hate this 10-minute overtime period. It's creating far too many ties.
All right, I understand. I'm a traditionalist. You don't have to twist my arm there. Let's get to we got a bunch of emails in here. Trubisky comment and inside linebacker question from Christopher King. Reading through the comments on most of the posts on the site make me feel for Trubisky. Many fans are hoping he fails to see Pickett play. I mean, look, if you didn't see that coming, Christopher. I mean, it's just nature of fandom, I guess. He says Pickett looked better than I expected in preseason, but the regular season is a different beast. Now to the actual question: do you think Robinson dresses over Spillane this season, regardless of health? His special teams play gives Spillane a helmet for now, but I don't think Robinson's special teams play is a significant drop-off. Fair question there, but boy, they had Spillane out there in some key situations, right?
Yeah, he's the starting dime linebacker for reasons that are still a bit unclear to me. But they were rotating also their base linebacker grouping as well. No, I think right now Spillane's the guy over Robinson. I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I think, and look, I kind of guessed that Robinson would be active as a fifth, quote unquote, inside linebacker, if you will, for special teams help, but that obviously didn't happen. So I think, kind of barring injury, you might see Mark Robinson on the inactive list for a little bit longer there. Maybe get into the second half of the season. And maybe he starts getting a chance. I thought Austin kind of outlined it well with him. He's played good. They just need to develop him more, and as far as what he sees and understanding scheme and all like that. So if he can progress quickly in that area, that will allow him maybe to get on the field quicker in some instances.
Yeah, maybe still just a rookie who was playing running back a couple of years ago. So it's going to take some time and be a process for him to learn how to watch film, understand the game, and really get comfortable.
Even though it didn't go the way that I thought it would go with Mark Robinson, I have no problem with his team dressing 6 defensive linemen.
No, and they needed them yesterday with the injuries and the snaps they played, and Leal did all right. So, I mean, I get that.
All right. Let's see. From Jay writes in, Dave, have you had a chance to compare preseasons for your boy Malik Willis and Alex's starter Kenny Pickett? Would you still have drafted Malik over Kenny? I mean, that's a great win for Steeler Nation. Too much of a loss for the Steelers. To sit here and talk about Malik Willis, the reason I liked Malik Willis was his long-term upside. Are we going to be able to talk about that after preseason? No. So, I mean, has Kenny, I think I said in the last couple of shows, well, really all throughout the preseason, I thought, and I didn't get to see, obviously, Kenny Pickett during training camp, but I thought it was noticeable difference in improvement of play of Kenny Pickett just in 3 preseason games alone. I mean, come ask me at the end of 2023 season what I think about Malik versus Kenny Pickett, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, none of these rookie quarterbacks have taken a snap in a regular season game yet, so I'm not going to change my opinion yet. I think Pickett's been impressive.
You thought Malik Willis too was more of an upside guy, right?
Yeah, everyone who liked Willis, even if you didn't like Willis, it was because he's a project. He was not a day day one, week one ready kind of guy. So let's at least get through this year and kind of see where things are
at. Christine Bond, whenever Kenny P starts this year, and he will, do you give this thought and credibility? Kenny P starts, Mason Rudolph is the backup, and Mitch Trubisky is traded. Does Mitch have more trade value than Mason? Could the Steelers leverage any increased trade value for Mitch over Mason? I understand the angle that you're taking there, especially with Trubisky having the extra year on his contract there. So if they keep winning, no. I mean, I understand, but I would still think that Mason would be if you're going to deal any one of them, it would be Mason that you deal by the trade. Remember, that's November 1st. And every win that you get before November 1st lessens the likelihood of really any of them being traded, and specifically Mitch Trubisky. But I understand the overall question there, more trade value. But if you're going to get in a position where you would even consider trading Mitch, it was probably because he's not played well, right? And that would decrease his trade value on top of it there. So short answer, I think, to that question is I wouldn't expect Mitch to be the one traded if they trade a quarterback.
How does that conversation go? Hey, other GM, we just benched our quarterback. Who wants him? Who wants to take our bench?
He does have another year left on his contract, though. Keep that in mind, other general manager.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't see that. And listen, we'll pick a play this year, certainly potentially, but as long as this team's competitive and Trubisky's playing not terribly, Trubisky's going to be the guy. I've been talking about Tomlin's going to have more patience and a longer leash on Trubisky, and all the reporting recently has reflected that, including a Jay Glazer report that said Tomlin doesn't want Pickett to start at all this year. He wants him to sit on the bench the entire rookie season. So unless this team's eliminated from the playoffs or Trubisky's just doing terribly and this team is like 2-6, then Trubisky's going to be the guy.
All right, Paul Brown writes in, first of all, being at Paycor was one, and I think I call it Paycom last week. Shame on me. First of all, being at Paycor was one of the craziest events I've ever been to. Both the Steelers and the Bengals fans were exhausted and just wanted to. I've got a bad back, and I had to sit here for sit in this chair for 5 hours. He said, just wanted a conclusion to the game to end the suffering. He says, my question, if the Steelers are not going to shake anything up depth chart wise, what can they do differently to right the ship? There's no chance you can ask your defense to constantly put up that showing, especially with TJ Watt out. I think we all had feelings this offense wasn't going to set the world on fire, but man, this offense doesn't seem all that different from the past few years. Look, it takes execution. It takes cohesion there. Is it going to be, more creative or look, we've seen some motions and we saw, obviously some runs with Claypool. They're trying to generate whatever they can, and it was clunky and ugly. I have my doubts. Anything you can do to shake up the depth chart, Alex, to right the ship is his main question there.
Not one weekend. I mean, you're going to go with the guys you have and see if you can improve and get better. Those kind of depth chart decisions wouldn't happen until maybe more quarter into the season when you've tried to, change a little bit of scheme and technique and give guys time. Plus, I'm not even sure what changes you would make anyway at this current time. Nothing along the offensive line. The backups are a lot worse. Receivers, running back, quarterback, they're not going to make a change there. So there really isn't a change to make. But it's 1 weekend. You try to get better. You see what the trends are. You don't make the knee-jerk reaction just off of one game. There's concern and there's problems for sure, but you're not going to make big sweeping changes based off of one game, especially in a win.
Let's see here from Dan B, longtime listener, first time emailer. He says, my hot take, TJ Watt's injury rests solely on Matt Canada's or Tomlin's ? Or Trubisky's decision to pass on 2nd and 12 at the Pittsburgh 15 with 1:44 to go. He says 2 seconds off the clock versus 40-ish seconds off the clock or a final Cincinnati timeout. That set off a chain of events to where, in my opinion, since Cincinnati subsequently had time to run additional plays, they otherwise would not have had time to run, even ignoring the injury. It was a terrible play call when essentially all you have to do is run out the clock. He says, yes, Harris was injured to play before, but there are capable backs that can take a handoff without fumbling. Your opinions? Dan B, I think you're reaching there. I mean, if you want my opinion, as we said at the top of the show, it's easy to get into hypotheticals here, but to blame a guy's injury on a play call on a 2nd and 12 at the 15 with 1:44 to go. I mean, I understand not liking the play call. I mean, I get that. If you don't like play call, just say you don't like play call. But to try to back up and blame an injury on it, I think that's a reach.
And if that play works and it's a genius play, what a great aggressive play call by Matt Canada to put that game away. So I understand why they did it there. They can't run the ball. Harris had just gotten hurt, right? The play before there. So they're just trying to do something different. Didn't love the outcome, obviously, but I'm not going to get too mad at the hindsight of it because I understand you get a first down there, you probably win the game right there.
Bryce writes in, hey guys, once again, Tomlin shows why he's the number 3 coach in the NFL. Found a way to pull out a stunning upset. Hats off to him. Some thoughts. He says, if I'm Tomlin, I sit with Canada and go over every run play from the start of 2021 to now and ask one question. What are the 2 runs we ran the best over this time? He will then see it is a straight ahead quick hitter and the off tackle out of pistol. He says, I would then build all my actions, boots, motions, play action off of those runs. Is it limiting? Sure. But at this point, they've got to find an identity and something they can hang their hat on. It's just pitiful to watch at this point. Do you agree that those are the 2 best run plays? They don't really have a best run play.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I mean, I don't know, the split zone maybe and the gap run. I don't know.
I watch some of these other teams run this old pin and pull and stuff like that. Think back to, boy, remember when the Steelers used to run the pin and pull and the power and get the guards out on the move. I get where you're coming from, Bryce, on that. And I've always been a fan of the more you can make everything look the same and do different things out of it, the better. But this, what exactly does this offense do good right now, period, to be able to have that look one way and run other stuff off of it, you know?
Yeah, right now the best runs are those jet runs by the receivers. So that's kind of where things are at. But we'll see how it gets better. We'll see where Harris is at and go from there.
He says, should the Steelers go out and find another experienced veteran offensive mind and bring him in as a consultant to Canada to help the staff audit and assess? I mean, you can suggest all these kind of things till the cows come home. And we can sit here and say, Bryce, that's the best, that's the suggestion of the week. But what does it matter?
Yeah, I'm just focused on recapping this victory, going through the tape, and thinking about the Patriots.
I mean, you got Mike Sullivan there. He's an offensive mind. I mean, you would think that, they're doing self-scouting, if you will. It's just personnel and scheme and just didn't. It's kind of what we expected this might be. Brandon writes in, TJ Watt, where is the line to donate my pec muscle? It will be seriously underdeveloped, and I'm 40, but TJ is welcome to it. He says, here's to Victory Monday and good news on the injury front. Brandon, we're with you. Alex and I will line up and donate as well. My pec's barely used, and I think Alex's is a little smaller than most.
Also, I'm glad mine was volunteered. I didn't say I was giving it away. Dave said he's giving my body part.
Yeah. I'm signing your donor card for you there. You got any organs we can use, Alex? Let's see here. Nick Shuley, Alex and Dave, happy Victory Monday. Which play do you think the Steelers like to run more on offense? The tight end shovel pass or the Chase Claypool in around reverse? Boy, I hate that. I've gotten where I hate to see that tight end shovel pass now. And I think the Bengals even ran it down deep in their own end, didn't they?
That was on the failed 4th down attempt there. Well, on that drive, yeah. I mean, I'm good with using it like short yardage goal line. Just Pittsburgh uses it on like 1st and 10, which is not my favorite thing.
How about put that in the closet for a couple games here, and pull it out when, the element of surprise is the biggest thing. And it usually works better when you run it off of other things with motion that work. Well, until you get those other things to work, then that's probably not going to work is my thoughts on it. Brett Nile, worried about outcome. I was worried outcome of today's game might steal my thunder, but I want to respond. Season predictions. He says, I'm convinced their final record will be 8-1 purely because that will irritate Alex to no end. He says, I had a couple of follow-up questions here. He says, Dave predicted 3-5 in the first 8 games. He says, if they finish 5-3, who starts at quarterback after the bye? I don't know. I mean,
it's still going to be Trubisky. This team's competitive. It's going to be Trubisky unless he's just absolutely tanking.
Yeah, I mean, if they're 3-8, if they're 3-8 after the first 8 games, you would think Mitch is still going to be in there. And
wait, didn't he say 5-3?
He says if they finish 5-3, who starts at quarterback after the bye? Okay, I said if they finish, I guess he's talking about the first 8 games. Oh yeah, if they finish 5-3 in their first 8 games, I would imagine that if Trubisky's healthy, he's going to be the one starting after the bye. I read that wrong.
Right. I mean, for Trubisky to get benched, his teams have to be like 2-6, and Trubisky playing like crap. That's the only way a change is going to get made.
And even there was take it for from the what it's worth department, Jay Glazer saying that, the whole plan is to not have Pickett play at all, blah, blah, blah. Number 2, if Pickett is started at quarterback going into the offseason, who's the backup quarterback in 2023? Oh, man, we're already asking questions like that. I don't know.
Not on this roster.
Yeah, probably not on this roster. Number 3, does Kendrick Green survive the entire season on the 53-man roster? I'll say no to that.
I know we talked about it. We'll see. It just depends. It could go either way for me right now.
Number 4, what are the odds that Joe Haig starts for the Browns one of the 2 games against the Browns? I don't know. Man, you got a lot of time to think up some of these questions, Brett. Let's see. Our buddy George O'Donnery back. I hope all is well. I thought you might be interested in the following he's got a link here. What does crow taste like? Is crow safe to eat? He says people wrongly assume that because crows aren't picky about what they eat, that they aren't safe to eat. Nothing could be further from the truth. It might surprise you just how little the diet of the animal you're eating has to do with safety of its meat. He says eating crow will not make you sick as long as you take proper precautions and preparations to preserve the quality of its meat. From our buddy George, Northeastern University in Boston. So now we know how to prepare crow for later on today, Alex.
All right.
It won't kill us. Adam Gesk writes in, wondering the positions at which you guys think we've gotten worse from last year, includes backups and coaches if you want. Seems to me we're better across the board with the possible exceptions of Hayward and Watt declining or getting injured. And he sent this 2 days ago.
Well, there you go.
Well, Watt got injured. There's no decline yet in Hayward. I think he was just exhausted on 2 knees there at the end of the game, right? What positions do you think they've gotten worse from last year? Include backups and coaches if you want.
I don't know. Backup offensive line depth, backup edge depth, at least whenever Melvin Ingram was the number 3 on this team. And then just quarterback, it may be the same, but just have its equal, different kinds of pros and cons. Quarterbacks maybe a bit jury out there.
Ooh, there's some all 22 calling our name right now. We've taken enough of a beating here on the show. We were wrong about the Steelers week 1 game. Maybe we'll learn our lesson week 1 of next season. No, look, in all seriousness, you win a game in the NFL, no matter how you win it. It's impressive. This team obviously has stuff to a lot of areas they can get improved on. The defense looked a little better than what I thought they'd look. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect them to dominate and create the turnovers the way that they did and sack Burrow 7 times. Pittsburgh's now had 8 straight seasons in which they've had a 7-sack game. They've had 10 instances of that over the last 8 years. No other team has more than 4. I mean, the pressure they get. The road to 60 sacks begins, Dave, and we're off to a great start with 7 of them. Obviously, TJ Watt's injury might hurt those odds a little bit. Let me give you one last quick stat of the weird here. Pittsburgh's now won 10 openers under Mike Tomlin. The previous 9 instances, they made the playoffs 8 of those 9 years. So historically speaking, Pittsburgh will go back to the playoffs this year with a week 1 win.
Look, and we talked about this stretch of first 6 games and how brutal, this thing is. And as we just kind of highlighted earlier in the show, I'm just saying, I don't know which way I'm going to pick this week's game with the Patriots. I might end up picking the Patriots. I don't know, but you just don't know how these things are going to go once you get into the season. The Patriots didn't look all that good. They've got a busted up quarterback. This game might set football back. This might be a 9-6 ball game for all we know here. But you get them. You get a Browns team without their quarterback. You get a Jets team that with Flacco. Who knows? And if you could get through these first 4 games, even with the 2-2 record and 2 division wins, and maybe the news will be a little bit better about Watt. Who knows? But all we know right now is they're 1-0. We'll start getting everybody ready for the Sunday game against the Patriots at Acrisure Stadium on Sunday. We'll start trying to line up a guest on Wednesday. Maybe we'll have Dr. Mel on, right? Maybe to talk about what we know about TJ Watt at that point. And obviously Wednesday or Friday, try to have an opposing beat writer on to help preview the game. What's the terrible take about today?
It's a little mix of the optimism and just what I said at the top of just enjoying the win and just not being so mad about the path forward and all the injuries there, but also kind of a look towards how does this team sustain going forward? What is their path to victory going forward? But it's a little yin and yang of my mixed emotions coming off a week 1 win.
All right. I'll take the yang and the points.
All right.
With that, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex _. Also on Wednesday show, we'll and I don't know if I said it or not, we'll have, obviously have the all 22 digested. We'll be able to talk a little bit more in depth about the offense. You can see a lot of the stuff on the defensive side of football, better sometimes than you can, obviously offensive line play and that kind of stuff there, but we'll have all that breaking down for you on Wednesday. But you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex _Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. If you want an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upper right navigational bar. Shout out to the crew, man. Just incredible job. Alex, Matthew Marksey, Jonathan Heitritter, Josh Carney, Ross McCorkle, Dr. Mel,
Tom Mead, Joe Clark were awesome.
Joe Clark. I mean, just it amazes me the way you guys are able to work once the game actually gets over. Just a tremendous amount of content up on the site Sunday afternoon, and then obviously got a lot of it going out today. Some film rooms, I think, on the way as well too. So until Wednesday, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.